Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. I am your host, the Smark, Jesse Disbro. Along with me, as most often, is the Mark, Matt Cooper.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, indeed. We are here. It is a weekend that will include an NXT pay-per-view. We had a big week on the TV products, and there was XFL football too. So I don't know if we'll talk about that, but so far the XFL has had some good reviews, good ratings. People are really liking it, and it looks like it might survive, maybe even thrive. We'll find out. But for today's show, we'll be sticking to our guns and doing our normal format, which will start off with Marking Out, featuring the Mark Matt Cooper, talking about what he marked out about this week. We'll have the Smarks Remarks, which will bring you up to date on the biggest things that happened during this week. And then we'll have some big meaty topics. And I have a couple here that I'm interested in presenting here to Matt to see what he thinks about. And we'll close out with our hot tag, hot take, and our finishing move and our spiel at the end. So, Matt, go ahead and take us off here.
Okay, so I have the first segment. It's called Marking Out. It's where I, the Mark, Matt Cooper, choose one thing that happened in the entirety of wrestling from the last week, and I mark out about it. This week, I'm marking out over what I'm sure was a fantastic Valentine's date between Otis and Mandy Rose. I didn't actually see anything come across my internet feed about what went down there, but I'm sure it was the payoff of weeks upon weeks of flirting and being nice to Mandy Rose, and everything came up roses for Otis.
Came up Mandy Roses for Otis.
I couldn't help it.
I know. That's fine. Well, apparently you didn't dive deeply into the Mark and Smark Connection Twitter handle this week because we had a little bit of coverage. We had a little bit of coverage before and a little bit of coverage after, and they did a fantastic job of setting up this whole thing. They had Mandy Rose sitting and waiting as Otis kind of worked himself up to it. He, combed his hair 4 times. He wore his sleeveless suit jacket. And by the time he finally got there, Mandy Rose got tapped on the shoulder and she was like, "Otis, I was beginning to work," and it was Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, no.
And Ziggles was.
I do remember.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I remember this now. Otis had a fantastic shot of him looking crushed and just allowing the flowers to drop from his hand and fall to the floor. The camera followed the flowers.
It was exceedingly well done. The segments that they did before, interspersed, were pretty well done. And then their trademark, here's somebody sitting and waiting, picture. So there was that was pretty good. And this is I think most people are invested in this feud now, much more than they ever would have been had it not gone this way. This is one of those ones where, if Dolph Ziggler had stepped on Otis's toe or knocked over his meat and potatoes smoothie in the back, we would have been like, "Oh, cool." But this is real serious business, and I'm a little bit interested to see how Mandy Rose reacts to this. Whether she's like, "Oh, nothing happened. I waited for you and I waited for you and you never showed," and then they try to kind of figure it out afterwards. But Dolph Ziggler's still an insufferable a-hole.
I'm looking forward to Otis just destroying Dolph Ziggler.
I think most people are. I think. I got some reactions from the tweet that I sent out that was legit sad, the whole situation. And
Otis's big soft feelings were bruised.
Mm-hmm.
The poor guy. I will say this: if Otis is so forlorn that for the next couple of weeks I don't get to see any pictures of him on Instagram staring lovingly at food, then a real crime has been committed here.
Yeah, seriously.
We must make this man whole again.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe he's a stress eater. Maybe he'll drown his sorrows in food.
I don't think he's a stress eater. Well, I don't know. I don't know the man.
He's just an
I will
eater.
say this. Yeah, I will say this though. Remember when Otis first appeared, and I thought it was the dumbest thing since sliced bread?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here I am in Otis's court. So,
Yes, yeah. Oh, he's so human. He's one of the characters that is like one of the most relatable humans that is on that roster right now. You've got a lot of larger than life characters and people who are, who are characters, who are gimmicks, and then you have Otis, who not trying to be anything more than what he is, and it's you love him for it,
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's refreshing, to be honest.
It is. So let's go into the smarts remarks. Let's hit the big things that happened this last week. Shayna Baszler, I guess, is debuting on Raw. She attacked Becky Lynch and bit her in the neck, or bit the back of her neck.
That had to have been stagecraft.
Well, obviously it was. I haven't.
They're not trying to bloody Becky Lynch up again, are they?
No. And then every time they do that, they have to take black and white pictures because they're PG rated. And they can't show blood. Okay. They can't show color, as it were.
So Shayna Baszler bit Becky Lynch.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's a feud that might be happening.
Doesn't she normally wrestle with a mouth guard?
Yes, but she didn't. She wasn't in wrestling gear. She was in civvies.
Okay.
So she just came out after Becky Lynch and Asuka's a rematch, which again was another tightly contested match. There was no green mist shenanigans at the end. It just Becky Lynch won.
Okay.
So yeah, that's fine. Samoa Joe came back. And
good.
He has yet to turn on the Viking Raiders and Kevin Owens as their program continues against the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins, AOP, and Buddy Murphy.
I think that's a good nickname and gimmick for Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah.
I think, and he's working it very well. I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah, give him a Jesus complex. Well, I like the. I think they've got some shirts where they have him in stained glass.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Yeah, he wore it on Monday.
Of course.
And I mean,
is the Big Show still out there?
A big evolution of his CrossFit Jesus. No, the Big Show I think was like a 1 week kind of thing.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if we're waiting for Samoa Joe to turn, he's probably going to have to hurry up before the Big Show gets ahead of him.
Well played.
Big Show already turned, yes.
So, there was also a Mojo Rawley was in action with Riddick Moss in a tag team match.
Doki Doki, Mojo Rawley.
Yeah, so, but as it turns out, Mojo Rawley was quickly squashed by the Street Profits in that tag team match. But it was all a ruse because Riddick Moss was just letting the Street Profits beat the crap out of Mojo Rawley so he could pin Mojo Rawley and become the new 24/7 champion.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. 2 weeks on the main roster and you're a 24/7 champion. Good on you, Riddick Moss.
Yes. Sorry, I realized I was supposed to react there. I was like, yes, Riddick Moss.
Yes,
you know what Riddick Moss looks like in my brain?
Mm-hmm.
You know you haven't unlocked this character silhouette.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
except he's got he's got the 24/7 championship draped over his shoulder.
Yes. It's like that vacant character on Brian Zane's podcast.
Yeah, and on Twitter, there's a good Twitter handle about that. Vacant has a good Twitter handle as well.
Yeah. So Brian Moss, I'm gonna look him up real quick and see what this motherfucker looks like.
Riddick Moss.
Riddick Moss. Okay, thanks. Otherwise, I'd be looking at some investment banker, and I'd be like, oh, wow.
Chronicles of Riddick Moss. Yes.
There he is.
He's a big, meaty looking dude. Yeah. That's all.
Big dude. Okay. Good for him.
Sarah Logan was once again a punching bag, losing to Rhea Ripley on Raw.
Okay. That should be her new gimmick. She should just come out dressed up as the punching bag from Super Smash Brothers.
Well, she came out and she had a little bit of a segment when Ripley was in the back being interviewed, and she was being territorial, wanted to defend her turf, etc. Like the somewhat wild animal that she's kind of turned into.
She still have that dumb face paint.
Yeah. face paint and the furs and whatever. So
I
yeah.
like the furs and the aesthetic, and I think that face paint would be good if they just moved it up and put it over your eyes.
No, I think it's A, not supposed to go there, and B, I think it actually would look dumber there.
Okay, well, you're wrong. But
Yeah,
anyway,
well, we'll agree to disagree on this
this
particular
is
section.
this is where we fall apart finally.
Yeah.
After hundreds of episodes, but I will not stand for your opinion on Sarah Logan's face paint. I quit.
There were some other squashes, and we'll review one of the items as a big meaty topic later.
Okay.
So the midweek, the biggest thing that came out of midweek was not the go home show for NXT. It was a legit go home show. All the people who had matches faced some other human who immediately lost, so that the people who had matches at NXT TakeOver Portland looked good. For instance, Roderick Strong beat Bronson Reed, Dakota Kai beat Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano beat Cameron Grimes, Bianca Belair defeated Santana Garrett, and Adam Cole beat Kushida. All matches that didn't really matter. They just made the people who have title matches look better. There's only one match that did matter. Lio Rush defeated Angel Garza for a NXT Cruiserweight title championship opportunity. So he'll face the Irish Ace, Devlin. I forgot his first name now. Damn it.
He's Irish.
Jordan Devlin. Jordan Devlin.
Okay. I was going to say, was it Mickey Devlin?
Next week, I believe.
Mickey Devlin.
No, not Mickey Rourke, not Mickey Devlin.
Fit not, Devlin.
Not Fit, not Seamus O'Devlin. No.
Seamus O'Devlin. We have to be careful here and not
None of this.
Cross our Scottish wires with the Irish. That makes them mad.
So so that was NXT. So clearly the better show this week, if you're into that business, was AEW, and they had the big thing that happened was Nyla Rose defeated Riho in a rematch of the inaugural championship match, and now Nyla Rose is the women's champion.
Oh, cool. Good for her. I'm certain that pissed some people off, but fuck them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Riho championship was starting to piss some people off, so I think there's
please everyone.
enough humans. Well, it wasn't a very powerful championship. Run. She didn't defend it a lot. It was against a couple, most of them were against fellow Joshi wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And it was just kind of weird having especially in this match where you have Nyla Rose, who if you were to weight class the women's division would be like a super heavyweight against 95-pound Riho. So it just kind of it turned out that Riho still looked pretty good. She still looked pretty scrappy in defeat, but I think the person who should have won, and now we have a big monster as the winner of the women's championship.
So I wonder if they could have Nyla Rose doing a bit sort of like Brock Lesnar with the title.
Well, we'll see. There's a couple of there Daily DDT, which is someone who we follow on Twitter and is a good follow. I would suggest them. Did come up with a couple of potential people to battle against her, against Nyla Rose. Number one, they put down Brandy Rhodes, which might rankle some people more than Nyla Rose winning the title.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a lot of real super credible people to wrestle against Nyla Rose. They've been building up Britt Baker, and her latest tirade with Tony Schiavone standing there taking it was actually pretty well done. It was pretty good. So that might be a way to go. Chris Statlander, who had gotten a big push towards the championship, and then kind of has stepped back to let other people work, could be another interesting. And Chris Statlander is actually a big, strong-looking woman too. Not nearly as big as Nyla Rose, but might be enough to kind of put people face to face and allow for a mano match, if you will, between the two of them.
Yeah, and I do think that this might be more of a reflection of AEW's relatively weak
Mhm.
women's division compared to like the WWE.
Yeah.
So people bitching about, oh, now you've got this monster heel and you can take it away from it. It's not a reflection of her, that character, so much as they need to beef up the women's division.
Yeah.
And by beef up, I mean, and add more
They need
characters,
to, yeah,
incredible
they need
characters.
to improve it. They need to have more people who have a shot at beating a champion.
Okay.
So, there was a couple other things in there that were very interesting. The main match is more Pirate Dean Ambrose versus the Inner Circle. Got a singles match against.
Does he really need that eye patch? Was he
Uh,
like legit injured?
I don't believe so. I think it's a character thing, and I think he's loving the fact that he's wearing a pirate eye patch and wandering around like that.
Just like, I want to wear an eye patch. Okay, why? I just feel like it. All right.
Well, I think like the storyline of getting poked in the eye with the ice pick or whatever it was that he got poked in the eye with was necessitated that, but I think he kind of like I think he might enjoy wearing it, so they might have told him that he could take it off like in the last couple of weeks, but no. I love it.
Okay. As long as he's having a good time.
Yeah, it seems like he's having a good time. You know who else is having a good time? Dustin Rhodes.
Why? What is he doing?
He's wrestling some of the best wrestling of his career at this point right now.
Is he having like uh a renaissance, so to speak?
Yeah,
a Dustinance?
So to speak. Yeah, you probably could have left it at Renaissance there.
A Renaissance.
Maybe, I guess. Anyway,
well, I was
he's
thinking
trying
of
to
like Matthew McConaughey, who had several critically acclaimed roles, and they called it the
McConaissance.
Yes, thank you.
See, that sounds a lot better. You should probably work on these portmanteaus before you voice them into existence.
Hey, man. Nobody's gonna hold me down. So yeah, we're having a Renaissance. A Dustin Renaissance.
Yes. No, that's that. I'll accept that one. That one's the least bad of all of the ones you put out there. So yeah, and he's angling for a match against the former Jack Swagger, Jake Hager.
Mm-hmm.
So the next pay-per-view, which is still in the future, maybe we'll get that match, and it might actually turn out to be a pretty good match. We haven't actually seen a lot of Jake Hager in the ring recently, so it'll be good to see him working too. So that was Wednesday night. Friday night, I think Hulk Hogan appeared on Friday Night SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
And he put over 3 people.
Himself and...
Yup, yes, obviously. If Hogan is involved and is talking, he's going to put himself over. You got that right. But then he put over Goldberg. He said, "Look, man, I went into the arena with the championship, and when I left after the match against Goldberg, I didn't have the championship no more. And that man he's serious. He's a big deal, and you shouldn't underestimate him. He'd change you in that ring." And he's talking to Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, and Bray Wyatt actually came on, and he did so they did the old like the break in with this message was sponsored by the NWO, except it was the FFH, the Firefly Funhouse, in the NWO font and stamp.
And they got to have Bray Wyatt come out like bow bow bow.
Yeah,
bow.
Yep, exactly. And in the black
funny.
and white, and he was all dressed up, more or less dressed up like Hulk Hogan. He ripped his shirt open and then flexed.
Mm-hmm.
He flexed on Hulk Hogan. And Hogan, Hogan didn't completely back down, but he gave enough to Bray Wyatt where it felt like he was giving concessions there. Though he did say, I'll see you at WrestleMania weekend, brother."
I do think that it is wholly within character of Hulk Hogan to imagine that he could give a demon like advice or warnings, and the demon would listen to him because he's Hulk Hogan, brother.
Right.
Okay, that's
So I think
funny.
that was probably the biggest thing that happened, during that show. Um, Bailey actually declared that she will defend the SmackDown Women's Championship at Super Showdown against whoever they end up putting against her.
Oh, cool. So she'll be wrestling in Saudi Arabia.
Yep. Yeah, so
Hey,
that's cool that they'll now have the first women's championship match in Saudi Arabia. So
be
that's
funny if
cool.
it was Baron Corbin.
No, Baron Corbin was involved in the last match. He actually had been banned from backstage and the show technically as a performer. So, as the old trope is, he went and he bought front row seats for the show. So during the main event between Roman Reigns and his mystery partner, which turned out to be Daniel Bryan, against The Miz and John Morrison, King Corbin sprung an attack on Roman Reigns and got to stand in his silly throne chair thing at the end.
I like how Baron Corbin is now King Corbin. He's Rosen. He's risen. Rosen. Where did I get that? He's risen through the ranks of the fucking royalty.
Mm-hmm.
But we keep calling him Baron Corbin.
Right. He's no longer a baron. He is now a king.
King. Yes. He no longer has
A barony. He has a
barony.
kingdom.
Okay, I was gonna say a duchy, but those are for dukes.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Well,
and
great,
there hasn't
okay.
been a duke in wrestling in a long time.
uh,
Duke the Dumpster Drosy, friend of
I
the
was
show.
about to say, yeah, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, man. He was the Duke of the Duchy of Dumpsterton. I don't know. Fuck all this shit. Like,
Among
I'm
his
gonna get
subjects
myself-
included Oscar the Grouch.
I'm gonna confuse myself if I try to start
gonna
sorting out all
explode.
of this thing.
Your brain's
Yeah.
just gonna blow up. So we're recording on a Sunday morning. Later tonight will be NXT Takeover. Do you want to say anything about that for posterity's sake?
I'm probably gonna watch.
And tweet it out. So keep an eye out for our twits about it.
Twits.
Yeah.
Maybe they should actually call them twits instead of tweets because haha, get it? All right,
Yeah.
sorry, I couldn't help it.
Yeah. But all the championships are on the line. Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Undisputed Era versus the Broserweights, Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, who had they had a fun 3-segment story where
Okay.
Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne were trying to drive to Portland from Florida. And
Across the fucking country?
Yes, across the country. They didn't make it very far because they had Pete Dunne drive and he was driving on the wrong side of the road.
Oh, haha, I get it.
And then it turned out that neither of them... Yeah, because he's British. And then it turned out that neither of them actually had licenses, so the car got impounded. And then they had to figure out how to get there. So the next segment had them in a duck boat. One of those paddle boats shaped like a swan, I guess. Not a real duck, not a duck boat, but like a paddle boat shaped like a swan.
Now, hold the phone there, because that's always something that's bothered me. Most of those duck boats are swans.
Mhm.
They don't call them swan boats. Horseshit. Okay.
Well, a duck boat theoretically is one that's supposed to be able to go on land as well. This is just a paddle boat shaped like a swan. Yeah, like a duck. This is just a paddle boat shaped like a swan. So obviously they weren't going to get the,
I'm getting confused again. This is almost as bad as like the dukedoms and the baronies. And
it's a paddle boat shaped like a swan, and Pete Dunne was like, "We're obviously not using this to get to Portland, are we?" And it was like Matt Riddle's like, "No, man, this is where I come to think and come up with things."
Honestly, that sounds like fun. As much as I dislike Pete Dunne, the bruiserweight, for carrying the title in his mouth, and Matt Riddle just on principle, that actually does sound like fun.
Their odd couple pairing has been pretty good. And then Matt Riddle says, "Oh yeah, man, I booked us as a special charter to get there, dude. It'll be perfect. Just grab your luggage and come help me put it in the back of the plane, dude." And then Matt Riddle's in the back of the plane taking the luggage. He's like, "All right, come on, grab my hand, come on in." He's like, "Wait, what?" And then they close the door, and they find out that that's Triple H's charter to get to Portland. So they just hitched a ride. Yeah, it was.
They were stowaways.
They were stowaways on Triple H's plane. Yeah. So hopefully on NXT Takeover, their entrance will be them getting out of the back of the plane and going into the
Be nice
arena.
If Triple H somehow caught them.
Right.
And then Matt Riddle's explanation was just "bro," and then he ran away.
Bro. Look over there, bro.
Bro. The
Anyway.
bros are weights. That's a good Portland toe.
Hey, that's a good one. I'll take that. That's 5 points for you.
Thank you.
But Keith Lee is going to be defending him against Dominik Dijakovic in like the third or fourth time they're going at each other. But it's one of those rivalries that just it never gets old, so that'll be worth it.
Oh, yeah, this was kind of like Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black.
Yeah, a little bit like that. Only this one has a championship involved.
Okay.
Then we have 2 more rivalries to round out the show. There's actually 6 matches, which is usually like one more than they normally have on these pay-per-views. So I'm not sure if any of this is going to be on the pre-show. I don't think so. They usually only do like a half-hour pre-show, and they don't put any matches on it. But Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai are going to settle their feud with a street fight, and Johnny Gargano is going to face Finn Balor to see who's the face, whose NXT it is.
No, I always like matches like that. It's like, this is my show. No, this is my show. Meanwhile, if you look at the poster for the event, it's got like Rhea Ripley and Adam Cole front and center, and I'm like, okay, guys, go.
Yeah, okay. You go ahead and do you. Also, if you remember the Io Shirai entrance that had the live band a couple times ago, well, the same performer, Poppy, is going to perform live at NXT TakeOver Portland.
Cool.
She's more or less become like the house band for NXT, it looks like.
I would like to point out that if you look at Rhea Ripley, right, she's like, at least in her aesthetic as a gimmick right now, she's basically like Lady Triple H. She's got like spikes and shit. She's not bald. And it strikes me that if you look at NXT as a whole, it's very diverse. But a lot of those seem to be like sort of heavy metal gimmicks. And I'm like, okay.
I don't know. I feel like Rhea Ripley's more punk than heavy metal.
I'm not getting into this argument. You're right.
That's why you're not getting into this argument, because I'm right and you're not.
Because she's wearing spikes. Spikes equal punk always.
Spikes. Oh well, the neck band makes me think of Punk. Not CM Punk, but like kind of like the collar.
No, look, punks have like spikes. And metalheads have jean jackets and empty cases of Miller Lite. I don't know.
See, this is why you weren't going to go into it.
No, yet here I am displaying my ignorance, and we've got metalheads and punks in the comments right now, just
ready to murder you. Well, speaking of murder, Randy Orton was once again on the microphone when he was confronted by Matt Hardy, who
of all people,
yes, who was part of the TLC matches with Edge and tried to call Randy Orton to some sort of
telling him like, hey, don't be beating up on Edge.
Yeah, some sort of responsibility. I don't know why'd you do it. And they threw hands, and eventually Randy Orton got the better of Matt Hardy. But what I want to try to get at here is that Matt Hardy had kind of been lingering in the fringes, like away from TV. I think he had been disappointed in generally his run. I mean, it did include a few tag team championships. But I assume if you're Matt Hardy and you come back, especially seeing as Jeff got a singles championship, if you're Matt Hardy, you think that maybe you have a singles run in you at some point when you're back with the company. All he did as a singles wrestler was win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which, as we all know, is completely useless.
Oh, yeah, you could put that up there with the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards.
Yes.
Although, if it's the kids that choose, I guess there's more to it than that. Sorry, Nick.
But they're gonna have a no holds barred match next week, and there was already speculation that him getting beat up by Randy Orton was going to be his last match in WWE before, his contract expired at WrestleMania, or he asked for his release, etc., etc. So he might be going out on his back, putting over Randy Orton here. And that would be interesting if that's the case. Matt Hardy wasn't the only somewhat disgruntled person who was back in action this week?
The other person was.
Mike Canales.
Oh, where's Maria Canales?
Um,
Did she have her like?
she had the other baby.
Did she give birth to her hand or whatever?
No. She had another baby. That was, I believe, last week that the new baby arrived.
Okay, so all things aside, legit baby. Congrats to them.
Yes,
Yay.
congrats to them.
Okay.
We retweeted and liked the photo.
What's the name of this child?
I don't remember. I didn't look that hard.
I thought you were a Maria and Mike Canales mark.
No, not that much of a mark.
Okay.
I don't need to know all of their children. The characters I care about, the children, their personal life can be their personal life. I don't want to pry that much. I'm not going to stand outside their window looking at their children. Come on now.
That's not what I meant to imply. Anyway,
that is entirely what you meant to imply. Anyway, yeah, Mike Canales is back in action, teaming with Tony Nese against the Brian Kendrick and Arya Davari on 205 Live. So he had actually. I was going to say,
well, those sound like 205 Live names.
Yeah. He had been working 205 Live mostly until the whole cuckolding angle.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like he's back to working 205 Live as his main brand. But I mean, he'd asked for his release, and then he had put it out there on Twitter that he'd asked for his release. So
how much of that is sincerity versus bargaining tactics nowadays, I wonder? I mean, I don't mean to, like, a lot of people, they try to see some conspiracies or some sort of, like, hidden motives that are never really there. But he was among a couple of other people that announced on Twitter that they were asking for their releases, so.
Mm-hmm. But he was one of the few that didn't get released at that point. Like, he was the last person to do it, and while, like, Harper got released, and I guess the Colognes had asked for release, too, and they got released, Canales did not. Now, there's two ways to look at it. He actually was frustrated with being in the wrong end of a cuckolding angle and being assigned to 205 Live after he signed and had a huge debut on a pay-per-view with his character and gimmick. But, I mean, it also could be that he was going to take some paternity leave, and that was a good way to do it. Whether he meant to do that and then told WWE that he wasn't excited about working anymore and would like to be released, or whether that's kayfabe and he asked for his release and they used that as kayfabe to give him paternity time. I don't know. All I know is he's back. He's actually wrestling. We'll see if this is one of those things where he gets a last hurrah before they release him, because they've actually been doing that recently. Giving people one more, like, if they've been off TV for a long time, giving them one more, like, feud, one more storyline to kind of give them a little bit more tape before they go somewhere else. They did it with Harper. They had him come back with Rowan for a week or two. And if this is the end of Matt Hardy, he's getting one more storyline before he goes. By the way, Matt Hardy has been creating videos for the Broken Universe on YouTube. So if you get a chance to watch those, they're actually kind of fun. If you liked the original Ultimate Deletion and that sort of thing, this is the character's journey through, like, being possessed by some sort of, like, WWE demon or something like that. It's interesting if you want to take a look at that.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's what do you think about, like, Matt Hardy? What did you think about his run? If this is the end of his run, what did you think about his most recent WWE run?
I forgot all about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I don't want to say that I forgot all about Matt Hardy.
I mean, the thing you remember is the big return at WrestleMania, the surprise return at WrestleMania.
And that's it.
And
then I remember.
And the final deletion version 2.
Jeff Hardy's, like, various swantons and then struggles with drunk driving and alcoholism.
Right.
But Matt Hardy.
The other thing that sticks out, the only other, like, big thing was the mower of lawns, the second final deletion that the WWE produced. And that one's the only other thing that really sticks out. The Deleters of Worlds championship run, the 2 or 3 Hardy Boys championship runs that happened after that,
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I remember more of Matt Hardy from his wonderful pictures of him and his family on Instagram.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's where you've seen most of his work the last few months.
yeah.
So it's interesting that he's back on TV. Like I said, it's either like the swan song thing, like here's a last gasp for some TV time, so that when you go to AEW or NWA or whoever is interested in having you have a little bit of stuff to show them. Because he's probably not going to go back to Impact because they did not leave on great terms because of who owns the characters and the intellectual property, etc., etc. But I think Matt Hardy's going to go anywhere that will allow him to have full creative control over the broken universe. And if he doesn't find that, he'll just keep making stuff on YouTube.
Well, as long as he is satisfied creatively.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for. He's made a lot of money. He's got a beautiful family.
At this point, he's probably rich enough that he can worry about, like, I just need my creativity satisfied. Yeah. He doesn't have to, like, drive himself from show to show and all that other good stuff, which is the promised land we all strive for, right?
Right. So, I hate driving myself from show to show. It's such a grind.
Yeah, no. I can't even stand driving to fucking work. So and I do that every day. Okay. So, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's time to run into our final set of segments here. They're mildly connected. We start off with the hot take, which is we talk about whatever we want. It has to do with wrestling in some form. It doesn't have to necessarily be something in ring. It could be something that happened outside wrestling related. It could be something that happened outside related to a wrestler. Like John Cena, did we find out? We actually found out that he's the bad guy in the new Fast and Furious movies, so that's kind of cool. Or maybe it's just Mike Kanellis talking about how his toast was buttered on the wrong side. I don't know, something like that. And usually to start us off with this segment, somebody interrupts the other person by saying,
"Hot take." So now it's my turn to talk. This week, my hot take is not really very silly. It's based upon the real world. If you've seen the headlines here in recent days, and I'm going to read verbatim a headline from the New York Post, WWE legend Ted DiBiase curiously received 2.1 million in welfare for religious nonprofit. Curiously is the New York Post, editorializing in their goddamn headline, but whatever. So Ted DiBiase, as you might know, was the $1 Million Man back in the day. He found Jesus, started a religious nonprofit, and evidently he got more than $2.1 million in welfare from the state of Mississippi. And so people are scratching their heads and going, huh. And his son, Brett DiBiase, according to this article, was indicted last week on charges of embezzling funds from that particular charity. Uh-oh.
Yeah. So hot take. I'm going to take my turn now, and I'm going to sweep out. Don't worry about it. I've got the silly thing this week. AEW, say what you want about them, but they know how to have fun. So after the tapings, they've done some fun gimmicks and some fun business. Like Tony Khan gave a stunner to Sean Spears after one of these shows. Well, after the latest show, they had a match between Jesus and Scooby Doo on one tag team and QT Marshall and Brandon Cutler on another tag team. That's right, Jesus and Scooby Doo took on AEW stars. Now, what? That was my first reaction, but I found out that these were two fans who came to the show dressed as Scooby Doo and Jesus, and somebody in the back, it tickled them. So they went out, they found those two fans, and they said, hey, do you want to do a segment in the ring? And they brought out Cutler and QT Marshall, who hadn't done any work that night. And right before the bell rang, the Young Bucks jumped in, super kicked Cutler and QT Marshall, and the two fans who were dressed as Jesus and Scooby Doo got to pin the AEW wrestlers and get a W. So that was kind of cool. I kind of like how that story turned out. Giving the fans what they want, both like as an aesthetically pleasing and also giving the fans literal wins. Pretty good, and obviously Jesus nor Scooby Doo can be defeated. So the outcome was very. It was almost like Brock Lesnar and John Cena teamed together. In fact, that's the only team that I would consider who might have a shot of going like 10 minutes with Jesus and Scooby Doo.
Yeah, and even then, they probably still lose in the end.
Right.
Because, as you said, Jesus and Scooby-Doo cannot be defeated in the ring. All right, so now it's time for the last segment. This is called the finishing move. This is where I, on the fly, come up with a new finisher based upon the topics that came up sort of during the podcast. I just try to do this naturally. Typically, I try to make it funny. Sometimes I try to make it serious. You're going to love this one, Jesse. Are you ready?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so this finisher is called the Portlanteau. And the way you do it is you stomp on their toe.
While in Portland. Great, wonderful.
No, it's not while in Portland. It's just, it's like a Samoan drop. You don't have to do that if you're in Samoa or if you are Samoan, right? So anybody can do the Portlanteau.
Do we have to craft sweaters out of human hair like it's Portlandia, or just smash them on the toe? That's all we need.
Yeah. This belongs to a Portland hipster character.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Got it. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you can you stomp on his toe, okay, or maybe he's lying flat on his back and you stomp on his toe and he comes rising up like a trash can lid, and then, or something, and then you bop him back onto the ground. Or
if he's standing there, he's got to do like the Ninja Turtles, like ow my toe, and just hop up and down.
Or you can just put him in an ankle lock and call it the Portlanteau. But you
can put him in a toe lock where you, instead of grabbing him by the ankle, you grab him by the big toe.
Well, small joint manipulation
and wrench.
is. Oh, look at what I've become.
You've become a walking meme factory. So thank you for that. While the guy is tapped out or counted out because he's hopped out of the ring due to the intense toe pain, or perhaps even just knocked out from how terrible his springboard back up from being toe tapped was. We'll get that 1, 2, 3. We'll wander our way back, trying not to step on any caltrops or any other thing that Legos, perhaps, that might hurt our toes on our way to the back. And we'll listen to the Mark and Smark podcast on markandsmark.podbean.com, on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube. You can find us on facebook.com/markandsmark. You can find us on social. For NXT TakeOver, if you're listening to this before or during, you can find us at Mark and Smark on Twitter. You can also find us on Instagram at Mark and Smark, and our on the website, thedailysmark.com. Whenever we put it up there, boom, it'll be right there, fed right to the Daily Smark to feed your needs for a podcast. So, for Matt Cooper, I'm Jesse Disbro. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.